What's going on, everybody? Josh Callaway here with Sooners Illustrated alongside by James Jackson, wrapping up day 2 of Big 12 Media Days at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Today, Oklahoma took center stage. Brent Venables hopped on the podium, did his breakout session, as well as Dylan Gabriel, Drake Stoops, Danny Stutzman, and Jonah Laulu. A whole lot was covered, as typically is the case at Big 12 Media Days. James, I'll recap a little bit of it here for you after day 2 and Big 12 Media Days for 2023 wraps up. First off, James, I think the most obvious thing that people are wondering in the country and Oklahoma fans, is Oklahoma going to be better after 6 and 7 last year? Brent Venables sure thinks so. Said, look, last year, well below expectations, well below the standard, but the confidence, James, is really high that it's going to be a lot different in 2023. He said they evaluated everything in their program and they've learned a lot. That was kind of the buzz term. They learned a lot from last year.
And a big reason for that is what happened last year. A lot of those losses were by one score, one or two plays here and there. It made a very big difference. Danny Stutzman talked about that. Dylan Gabriel talked about that. Brendan Venables talked about that. And I know you were at the table with Jonah, and he talked about it as well. So there's a lot of things they can fix that will just get one or two more plays, and the whole season could have looked a lot different than it did last year. And I think they're going to accomplish that this year is what they're coming to the table with this year.
Yeah, Brent Venables talked about, even going to this year, 123 players on the team. I think it was 97 guys were either in their first or second year at Oklahoma. Last year was a lot of new faces, first-year head coach for Venables, new staff, and I think they went through growing pains. Venables thinks it's going to be a lot different this time around. A big part of that, too, is the depth. I don't know if I've ever heard Brent Venables be as brazen about something as he was today in regard to the depth. He actually said the depth last year was non-existent, none, zero. Those were the terms that he used when referring to last year's depth. And then he rattled off all these names that he feels like can be contributors this year. James, it feels like overall Venables and this team are confident that they have severely addressed the depth issues that plagued them last year.
That's a very big point. And, they brought a lot of guys over in the transfer portal. The depth was a major concern for them. And Brent Venables said that's why they kind of lost in those last quarter of each game in those close games. They're just tired. So having that stamina, another guy that can come in and be productive, that was the main focus, and I think they've accomplished that so far, what they've done.
Yeah, Jonah Laulu talked about that as well. Just it feels like there's a lot of the number of guys, especially on defense, that can contribute and rotate in, and you don't lose anything much higher. Brent Venables kind of admitted we probably should have played some younger guys last year. Won't make that mistake again. That's kind of the overarching theme for Oklahoma is lessons learned from last year. Going to be excited to see. Of course, Brent Venables was also, as you might guess, asked about Bedlam moving forward after Mike Gundy's spicy comments yesterday that we talked about. Brent Venables, we knew wouldn't be as spicy as Mike Gundy, but he threw a little something in there. He talked about, look, Bedlam's been playing for 100 years, and OU's been pretty dang good in those games. That's the way he phrased it, but also said, look, it's not up to me. We'll see where it goes from there. But he just a little needle to the team in Stillwater there.
Yeah, definitely. Want to make sure everybody knows that OU has kind of run Bedlam the last couple of years. And Venables has been a very big part of that on the defensive side as defensive coordinator, serving as the role in that time. So he knows all about it. He played at Kansas State. He knows all about what happens in the Big 12 and Bedlam and everything like that. So very good point from him today, I think.
Yeah, you're an Oklahoma kid. I'm an Oklahoma kid. I'd like to see Bedlam continue, but it doesn't feel really good right now that it's going to be played again for a while after this year's edition. One last thing, too, we want to touch on that we hadn't heard Brent talk about yet was Thad Turnipseed moving on. Of course, that news came out back just a couple of weeks ago now or so, and we've offered some updates and some VIP intel on to our subscribers at oklahoma.247sports.com. But Brent Venables talked about it for the first time, basically kind of said he wants to spend more time with his family, and there didn't seem to be any ill will. He said he's going to be a friend, forever, and said he helped out while he was here, things like that. It sounded like a pretty amicable thing, which, not that you expect him to just rip the guy or something, but it was a little friendlier than I even thought it might be.
Definitely. It was a lot of mutual respect going on there. Talked about his family, talked about him even coming over to Oklahoma and how grateful he was for that to happen. And so, very good stuff from Brent Venables today and talking about that and addressing that situation. And it seems like he just wants to be more around his family and that's pretty much what it came down to.
Absolutely. So we were only scratching the surface here of what they touched on today. Big 12 Media Days. The setup in Media Days this year, a little weird to put it bluntly here. I didn't really hear a lot of the players. James didn't really get to hear much of Venables break out, right? So We got some watching to do ourselves, but a lot more is coming for you on Oklahoma.247sports.com. Tom Green and James, of course, all over. Tons of stories coming out of today here in Arlington. Colin Kennedy's absolutely crushing it on the recruiting side of things, and we're going to have videos for you so you can hear what Venables had to say along with the 4 players. So keep up with the YouTube channel as well. A whole lot coming your way on the Sooners Illustrated YouTube channel, of course, over on Oklahoma.247sports.com. Sooners Illustrated, we have a lot coming your way here as the final edition of the Big 12 Media Days, for OU at least, is in the books. How'd it feel? First time for you?
First time for me, and I mean, it's very, very fun experience. But I've heard bad things about how the setup was this year, so I mean, I can only go off what I've seen. So it was pretty good for me. So
it was funky. It was funky, but we've been told that SEC Media Days is a little more buttoned up. That's in the future. That's in the future. So that's it for now. A lot more, like I said, at Oklahoma.247sports.com. Keep up with us. Recruiting ramping up. Fall camp is just right around the corner. We're getting close. Football is getting close. So buckle up with us. It's going to be a great ride here through the rest of the summer and into the fall. That's it for now. For James Jackson, I'm Josh Callaway.